Welcome everybody, this is our guide on how to kill Voracidous the Invincible. Ultimately, this guide will show you how to get under the arena using a glitch we discovered. This method works for any party size, although it does help to have other people with you, as it will speed up the process significantly. First we'll show you our loadouts for Axton and Zero, the two characters we chose to use. It doesn't really matter who you use, as you won't really be taking much damage. However, we found these loadouts sped up the process a fair amount. If you really don't care about the stats we used, you can use the link in the description to skip straight to the walkthrough portion. As for those of us who have a decent attention span, here is Zero's loadout. By far the most important skill for Zero is Killing Blow. It will speed up the final 25% of Voracidous' health, making this go by much faster. Iron Hand will just boost raw melee damage, also speeding the process up. Backstab doesn't necessarily do anything, we're not entirely sure, because you're not really hitting him in the back, but you never know, it may do you some good. You can also allocate these points to something else that you think will help you much better. You don't have to follow this exactly. Execute, that's another just point for the sake of a point. If you find other stats that'll help you out more, you can just put them in there. The purpose of the Counter-Strike skill is mostly just to get to the next tier. However, in the off chance you do get hit, it may be able to do you a little bit of good. The ambush skill will do you a lot of good, especially if you're playing with other people, as he really can't target you through the ground. So it'll just help speed the whole process up. Unforeseen will do a fair amount of damage to his shields. That'll be very helpful. The Deathmark skill will be a very big help in this fight, especially if you have other people with you. Unless you have some other means to healing yourself, Innervation will be the only way to do it, so if you do take damage, Innervation is nice to have. The Death Blossom skill is okay, it'll allow you to do some extra damage, but it's not super important. And don't forget about Rising Shot, this will be very helpful. It stacks your melee damage with each consecutive hit, and since you're going to be hitting them non-stop, this is going to be huge. And just for the hell of it, we threw 2 extra points into Headshot. It really doesn't do you much good, but you might as well put them somewhere. So in the very end, your tree should look something like this. However, you can change it based off whatever works best for you. This is only what works best for the equipment we had at the time. The impact skill will be quite helpful. You do more gun damage, therefore the fight goes by faster. Overload, it's just more of a convenience. It's not really important, just allows you to get to the next tier of skills. Steady, I didn't choose it this time, but if you have a lot of explosive weapons, that will be more helpful to you. You don't really need much accuracy for this, he's pretty easy to hit. Battlefront, I put some points in there, mostly get to the next tier. Does help when your turret's out, although you'll be just throwing it and pulling it back, so it doesn't make a huge difference. Duty Calls, I have a lot of raw damage and elemental guns, I put 5 points in there instead. Rangers, obviously good. Allows you just to get more awesome in everything, so why not? And then Nuke is the most important. The Nuke will allow you to do a lot of damage for Voracidous very regularly. It also helps you if you have a class mod that reduces the cooldown of your turret as well. As for the other side, Healthy and Preparation are both helpful but not necessary. Pressure just allows you to get up to the 3rd tier. Phalanx will provide your turret a little protection, however if Voracidous enrages, it won't really make too much of a difference. It's just kind of there for an extra point. The second most important skill here is the Resourcefulness one. I have a class mod that gives me extra points in it, so that's great. This will be helpful for throwing your nuke down, grabbing it, and resetting it, and just throwing it as regularly as possible, allowing you to maximize damage. The first step to getting to the underside of the arena requires you to first get to the perimeter. As far as we know, there are 2 ways to do this. The first way is what Zero is demonstrating right now. He'll ultimately hop on top an invisible wall that is only there when the gate is shut. This way requires 2 people, but it does save a grenade as opposed to the other way. This way can also be reset if you piss off the boss and just run out. As you can see, the invisible platform launched Zero up when the door was open, getting him onto this little platform. From here, he is now able to get to the outer perimeter of the arena. If you have more than 2 people with you and you want to reset the door, all you have to do is go into the arena, shoot, and run back out. The gate doesn't close too fast, so it shouldn't be too hard. The other way of getting around to the perimeter is to grenade jump. What you need to do is run down the path a little bit and then jump to the right. By this corner, you should be able to throw a grenade down and launch yourself up from the explosion. Be sure to unequip any grenade mods before doing this, or else it won't work very well, and it may take you a few tries to get up. As you can see, the outer perimeter has pretty much an invisible dome around the entire arena. As far as we're aware, there is no way to damage Voracidous from the outside of the arena, at least from the top. We have tried multiple ways of hurting him, but every time it just seems to run into the invisible wall. Had this fight already started, though, Voracidous is able to hurt you with his wave attack, whatever you want to call it. That attack is a line of sight based attack. All you have to do is obstruct line of sight with Voracidous and you should be okay. If you watch Axton on the left, he'll be running to a few spots that are good for blocking line of sight. However, if you watch Zero on the right side, he will be demonstrating that not all the ground is actually walkable. We've only found one spot such as this, behind the first totem pole, but if you shoot the ground like he is right now, and you don't see any dust come up, you cannot walk there. If you do fall through the ground, you may be able to grenade jump your way out of it, however, you very well could get stuck. That is the only spot around the perimeter that we have found. However, there very well could be others, so if you're unsure about what you're walking on, just shoot the ground in front of you and they'll tell you right away. Once you make your way all the way around to this back corner, you'll see that the invisible wall is still here, but that's okay, because if you look behind you, there will be a hole you can jump through, and this will lead you to the underside of the arena. As you can see, you're now under the arena. You can see up through certain spots in the game. What you want to first do is make your way to the right corner. You gotta crouch. The game may resist you a little bit, but just keep going, and eventually you'll be able to sprint right through. Once you're past this hill on the left, you pretty much have full access to the arena's underside everywhere. If you do choose to go outside the arena from the underside, and there is no one left in the arena itself, the fight will reset if it has started. But just be sure that there's at least one of you in the arena at all times. First thing you want to do is find Voracidous. Now, he should be in the center of the arena, and you should be able to see his claws sticking through. You cannot actually do damage to his claws, but you can do damage to the areas in between his feet. You can't really see him right now when they're in the center of the arena, but it will help to move him to the hill that Axton was just looking at. So what we're first going to do is shoot at him and try and then move him towards the hill. Once he's over there, his claws and his hands seem to stick through the ground more than they do right here. So the best thing to do is try and get him over there and allow you to maximize your damage to him. Once the fight starts, his shaman friend will spawn. If you leave the shaman alive, they will bounce the shield between one another. The shaman, however, is able to drain your shield from the top side, even though you're on the bottom. So we just choose to kill him anyway. As you can see, there's a little bit of the area between his claws sticking through the ground. You can do damage pretty well to that area, and that's where you're going to be shooting for the majority of this fight, with the exception of using your nuke. It is easier to hit that area between his feet if you move him to that hill you passed in the beginning when you came into the underside of the arena. In a few seconds, we'll try and move him using Zero's decoy. Unlike Axton's turret, Zero's decoy seems to piss Voracidous off much more. However, you are able to get both of them through the ground up onto the top. If you go up to this hill, you can deploy Zero's decoy, and it will spawn on the upper side. In this case, Zero's decoy didn't actually lure Voracidous over here, just a bunch of midgets. Now with Axton's turret, if you throw it at the very top of the hill, the upper side of it will be able to go through the ground and shoot anything nearby. Since you can't really do much damage to Voracidous where he is right here, we had Zero redeploy his decoy and he jumped straight for it. Now that he's in this spot, his foot and the area in between it is much more easy to see. From here, you should be able to have Zero just do melee damage over and over, and Axton will be able to shoot it with relative ease. For Zero, it is advisable to have a bladed weapon. He's using the Law. Despite it not being that high of a level, it does do 100% bonus melee damage, so anything like that will drastically help. From here on in, it is unlikely Voracidous will move unless you deploy the decoy or one of the players walks very far away. The turret, I have found, does not seem to get him mad or cause him to move so long as you don't have it peer halfway through the ground. If you just throw it on the ground and have it do the nuke damage, you'll be fine. If you have an area effect electric grenade like I did but failed to use because I'm forgetful, that would be very helpful when his shields are up. Any shock weapons will be great for that portion, and any fire weapons will be great when his shield is down. We also recommend bringing at least one of each weapon kind, because you will run out of ammo and a fair amount of weapons before he is dead. It is also worth noting that sometimes when Voracidous does his shockwave scream attack, the game will lag. That isn't our recording, it's just something that happens when he does a scream attack. It's a little annoying, but you kind of get used to it after a little bit. Once you get Voracidous down to 25% health, this is where Zero really begins to help significantly. His Killing Blow skill will start to do tons and tons of damage. As a result, the last 25% of Voracidous' health will go by much faster. Congratulations, if you made it this far, you have just killed Voracidous with pretty much little to no complications whatsoever. Some of you are probably wondering how you're supposed to get all the loot. You can see a fair amount of the loot through the ground from the bottom. You can even pick up pieces that you can't actually see at all whatsoever. You can just spam pick up and you'll probably get some of it. Now, if you don't care about dying or losing money, you can jump off the cliff like I'm about to do. If you do care about losing money, if you're with someone you trust, give them all your money before you die, and then get it back later. If you're playing by yourself, you should be able to jump off the cliff if you want to make sure you get all the loot. The loot shouldn't disappear, however, we have not tested this ourselves, so try and get a lot of it before you jump off the cliff just in case. What you do from here is pretty straightforward. The person or persons who killed themselves will be mocked by the Hyperion Lady. From here, you just continue back into the arena and all the loot should still be there. Again, if you're playing by yourself, we have no reason to believe the loot won't be there, but just in case, for some reason, the loot does disappear, try and grab most of the loot from the bottom. You should be able, in theory, to grab all of it. It will just take a fair amount of time. Once the person on top reaches it, you can get all the loot to your heart's content, and then you can quit the game or leave the area, so not everyone has to die. And that is pretty much the extent of our walkthrough on how to kill Voracidous, or whatever his name is, the super badass, awesome person way versus the lame-o, legitimate way. If you have any questions or comments about our strategy, feel free to post them in the comments section, and we will do our best to reply to them as quickly as possible. And yeah, that's about it.